Hello everyone, my name is Grace and I am here at the Quilting Bee for another feature video on one of our awesome machines with a lot of great features at a great price point. Today we're featuring the Pfaff Quilt Expression 720 and we're going to be going through some of the techniques that this machine does that are unique as well as some of its other awesome features. The first technique we'll do is the one I am most excited about, which is the double ribbon technique. So this is located in our stitch menu, which I'm actually already in, and it is category number 8, stitch techniques, and our first option there is ribbon stitches. Now, when you first sit down at this machine, you're not going to naturally know how to do a ribbon stitch, nor any of the other specialty techniques that they offer. So Pfaff has built in this question mark feature where if I tap it and then tap the stitch I want to do, besides telling me what it is, it's going to give me step-by-step instructions. Number 1, activate needle down, start to sew. Okay, and it's going to walk me through with thorough and detailed instructions exactly how to do this. I love that because I don't have to walk away to my computer to look up a YouTube video or pull out my manual. I just reference the screen. Okay, so once I think I know what I'm doing, I select my stitch. And just as the instructions said, we are going to go ahead, start sewing, and wait until the machine stops. Okay, it has stopped itself. I prefer that it stop needle down, so we'll make that change. Now, if we had read further in the instructions, it would have said, lay your first ribbon down in the angle that the machine just stitched. And then we'll let it go again until it stops. Okay, now I'm going to lay my second ribbon crossing the first. Okay, once it stops, I'm going to cross my pink ribbon back over. Now, that crossing motion is going to cover the stitches that tacked it down. So we really shouldn't see any stitches in this technique. Okay, so now that both my ribbons are on the same side, I'm going to take the ribbon that's behind and cross it over and lay it right in front of my needle. That's why it's nice to have my needle down. Okay, now I want both my ribbons on the same side, so I continue with the black ribbon, bringing it back to the side with the pink. Okay, and now it's the pink's turn. It's the back ribbon, and it's going to take its turn going right and then left. We're going to continue. As you can see, once you understand the idea of it, this is extremely simple. The machine stops for you every step. And this is going to be really easy to go ahead and weave us a nice ribbon all the way down. All right, so there is my final woven product. You can see a few places where I wasn't strict enough with the folding of my ribbon. I didn't cover up the continuing stitches, but as I do it more and more, I'll get better and better at it. And this would be a really nice embellishment on a bag, the bottom of a skirt, whatever needs that special touch. Now for something completely different. We are going to move on to another one of our special technique stitches. So we're going to be in the same category. These are still stitch techniques, but we're going to go to floating stitches. So floating stitches are going to lay down a series of satin stitches separated by straight lines. This is meant to be a seam, and so this is a seaming technique, and I am going to run it right along the fold of my fabric here, giving myself a little more room than a 1/4 inch. I can't quite do a 1/4 inch seam with this, but I can definitely do a 3/8 or a 1/2 inch seam. I'll be going for a 1/2 inch. All right, and you can see here why I couldn't do quite a 1/4 inch. It's quite a wide stitch, but the 1/2 inch worked out very well. Okay, so now we're gonna see why this is called a floating stitch. Here's the magic. I'm gonna open up my seam, and with a very gentle pull, I'm not giving it much pressure at all, those satin stitches are pulling through, just like that. And because that straight stitch is creating the seam, it does not show, and so these look like they're floating. Okay, you can do some really cool stuff with this stitch. For instance, we made a lovely little purse with a variety of floating stitches on both sides. I've also seen some really cool clothing made because these will work just fine as clothing seams. They're quite strong, and you can have just a little extra pop of something special on your seams. Moving on, we're going to check out the monogram on this machine. Now, if you've watched my video on the Bernina 790, you saw the monogram on that machine as well, and I love that monogram. But I love this one too, so it wouldn't be fair to let this go. We're going back into our stitch menu, and right next door to where we were, number 7, is our monograms. Okay, this is going to show off, let's do the letter Q for Quilting Bee. Okay, this is going to show off that sideways motion that if you were paying attention, you saw it when I was doing the ribbon stitches. This, you're really going to see the fabric move sideways. This is a machine with a lot of sideways motion stitches. If we're lucky, we'll get to see a few more a little later in the video. If not, you'll just have to come in and try them out. All right, quick and easy. There's a simple little Q. Let's add a B next to it. Okay, and there we go. A cute little QB, quick and easy, gives you the effect of embroidery without needing to hoop anything. Okay, and we are going to finish out by looking at the tapering effect combined with the patchwork program to make a frame. So for instance, this can be a frame around a quilt label. Okay, we've started by picking one of my favorite stitches for this technique. We are in category 4, which is satin stitches, and we're down at that 3rd category, which is borders, and I particularly like stitch number 11. Okay, so right now, as is, we are going to stitch a column of floral element. I'm going to go to this icon right here, which shows a little taper, and these 2 icons here are going to allow me to taper my column to create a 45-degree bevel on both ends. I do like the 45-degree bevel. That's how you create a picture frame. However, you're not restricted. If I push and hold, it will open up and give me all sorts of options. I can do my bevel the other way. I can come to a tapered point as well right in the middle, but we're gonna stick with my favorites. Okay, we are then going to turn on the patchwork program, which is this guy right here. This is going to tell me to measure the amount of stitching I'm going to do. When I am ready to taper to the end, I will press the reverse button. Lots of visual aids, it's telling me there to press the reverse button, and it will taper to an end. Then it will memorize that length. That's the value of the patchwork program. It doesn't have to be done on this sort of framing either. It can be done on a straight stitch to memorize the length of a scene, for instance. However, let's look at it on a frame because it is pretty cool. So I'm approaching my length that I want for one side of my frame. So at this point, I hit the reverse button and then I continue stitching. Perfect. Okay, so it has created a 45-degree bevel. A little hard to see right now. You'll see it once it comes out from under the foot. I have turned the fabric 90 degrees. Now, the quality of your frame is dependent on your ability to turn a consistent 90 degrees. I really tried to line up with the edge of my fabric so that I can sort of reference my stitch plate. We'll see how good I do in the end. Perfect. Okay, you'll notice that time I did not press the reverse button. That's because it has memorized the length of the side and it's going to repeat it until I tell it to stop. And here is where we see how good I did at turning 90 degrees. We will see if I'm able to line myself up again, but you can see already that lovely 45-degree bevel we have going. All right, I think I was close. Yes, almost, a little bit past there. So that means that I probably turned a little more than 90 degrees at some point. However, you get the idea. We've got a lovely frame there. I could have put a monogram inside of it, for instance. And so that is the combination of the tapering effect and the patchwork program on the Pfaff Expression 720. All right, we're going to finish up with some general 720 trivia. I wanted to mention to you guys that this is a 10-inch throat space. And we have a lot of people asking for more space to do their quilting. And this is one of our best options. It has a little sister, the Quilt Expression 710, which is also a 10-inch throat space machine. And I will just mention the Quilt Expression 710 is the least expensive machine in the store that offers you 10-inch throat space to fit your quilts under your machine. Now, speaking of fitting quilts under any of these Pfaffs, all of our Pfaffs come with this dual feed feature here. This is a little walking foot that's permanently installed that fits into the back of the foot. Pfaff did it first, and they're still producing very high quality feeding with this IDT. Lastly, I'll just mention that this machine has something cool called Stitch Creator. Now you can start from zero and create your own stitches by creating points and then moving them around. This is a grid, it's 9 millimeters, same as any other stitch that we have that's not a sideways motion stitch. As I create points, I would be able to move them. Once I've created the greatest stitch in existence, of course, I hit OK, and it will go forth and repeat that stitch over and over. With time and patience, you can create some really unique, cool stitches. Thank you again for watching our feature video on the Pfaff Quilt Expression 720. Please stay tuned for more videos coming in the future on other machines that we're really excited about. Now, if there's any particular machine that you want to see featured, or if you just want to critique my ribbon stitch technique, go ahead and leave a comment because we read all your comments and we're thrilled with the response we've been getting. Thank you.